Okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
so let's start with a very basic definition.
Okay.
How do you and I define happiness?
Mhm.
So I want a personalized definition rather than a generic one. So
Okay.
what makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Yeah.
Um, uh, this is a tough question, actually. Happiness comes in so many forms. Uh, I don't know. What truly makes me happy is feeling comfortable. And that sense of comfort comes when, I'm home, I'm with my people, or if I'm traveling. I don't know. I think it just depends. For
Okay.
me, it depends on the situation.
Okay. You have tripped me with the very first answer itself, since I was
Okay.
not prepared with this one. It's
Okay.
very interesting that a seemingly course simple question can trip us like it did, because I didn't think of that.
Okay.
But you said a few keywords, so let us just look at. You said when you are comfortable.
Yeah.
So and then you qualified one of the ways that you're comfortable is when you are with people whom you know or who you are
Yeah.
comfortable with.
When I'm home. Yeah.
So I will throw a spanner in the works right from the first answer itself. And you know
Okay.
what? You had a major fight with all of them
Okay.
on something that matters to you, and they think otherwise.
Hmm.
Um, Now, does that comfort still stay what it is, or does it get diluted at that moment?
At
Think
that
of
moment,
it.
no. I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's happened a couple of times, of course. I mean, you generally tend to have disagreements or fights or arguments, and that's when it's a little negative, even to be home, even if I'm comfortable, even if this is my space. Um, and yes, that's when it would be diluted, I would say. So at that time, what my escape would be probably just heading out, taking a walk, uh, going by the riverfront, listening to some music that will change my mind and my mood. So that's when I think I would start to neutralize a little bit and calm down. But yeah, I mean, when there is some kind of unhappiness at home, it obviously you know happens.
Okay, so now, does it always work? All these things that you said. Sometimes
uh,
the disagreement or the problem is fairly deep inside you at that
yeah.
moment. Are there times
Yeah.
when all these tricks uh, do not work? Has it happened?
Yes, because I think it depends on the intensity of what has happened or what has transpired, right? So, yes, it may not always work depending on how serious the issue is or the anger or, the volatility of the situation is. So, it may not always work, but this is my, escape generally to just give myself some alone time if at all I'm faced by it.
Okay. So two questions here.
Mhm.
Uh, Say, I want you to think of a particular problem that you went through, like this one, which was big. You don't need to share what the problem is.
Okay.
I don't need to know that. I just need to know your mental framework at that point of time. Something that you did that did not work. And when it did not work, this alone time, this listening to music, this walk, then what did you fall back upon? Is my question.
Hmm. I think recently it's happened so that I've gotten into a situation where I had a big fight, and it was obviously at home with my husband. Uh,
But there's nothing
yes,
obvious about that.
yeah.
People fight
Uh,
with all kinds of people.
So yes, it's happened quite a few times actually, where none of these things work. My fallback option, to be really honest, is just probably, um, you know, let time take over. Like I may cry about it, I may, put it all out there through expression, through art. I have the habit of writing, I have the habit of painting. I do that as well sometimes, but I know that it's end of day, it's all time. I think unless it just stops hurting inside, you're not gonna move on from it. So even the walks may not help, even music may not help. All of those things may not help. They may be a quick escape, oftentimes, but not always.
Okay. So when you say that time heals what has been hurt,
Yeah.
um, have you ever studied yourself? What is it about the time uh, aspect that softens the blow of what has been hurting us?
Um, Actually, I don't know. I don't have an answer to this because I'll tell you why. Any kind of grievance we go through in life, generally, I've realized that with days, the effect keeps coming down. And I don't know why it happens. It's just how we heal, probably. I have no idea, but it's worked for me. It may hurt a lot initially, but then the hurt keeps going down, down, down. Eventually, it just wears out. It's out of your system.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
Um, this has led to an interesting thought in my head. So while
Okay.
the healing is happening,
Hmm.
is it also a probability that you are also seeing the opposite point of view accommodate itself in your mind sometimes? Not always. Sometimes you may just be point blank fully right, which is rare, but it happens. It's not that
Yeah,
we cannot not take credit for being right some of the time at least.
that's true.
But
Of course.
but I'm saying, does it happen that as time passes by, you realize maybe there is a flaw in my thinking, maybe there is I have read the situation a little too. I have made it turbulent sometimes. I realize this about myself very often.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have jumped the gun and said something, and by the time I am so lucky to have a teenage daughter. So once I have calmed down, she will come and say, "This is what I wanted to say," because I have to anyway say it. Her age is of that age. Then you realize, oh, I have completely goofed up.
Yeah,
So does that happen to you? And is that
of
how time
course.
helps us heal?
I think yeah, that's a good observation and insight because that's true. I think that's one of the factors that help you heal faster with time because I think you start realizing, oh my God, I totally overreacted on this one. I could have been more calm. I could have been more vocal about what was bothering me, but instead I chose to, burst. And and sometimes that sets in with time. You start realizing, oh, maybe I am not the only one who's right. The other person also is equally right. So
Okay.
it's that mutual understanding that goes. You know,
Does that hurt more or less?
it
Admit.
hurts. It's like, oh my god, I totally goofed up. I probably shouldn't have. So yeah, it does hurt, but it also makes you realize that you're getting self-aware. It's a good feeling to think from the other person's perspective. I've always felt that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, do you, this is not directly connected to this one episode alone, but do you
Okay.
apologize or do you try to make up in a manner where the other person knows that you are uh, trying to apologize, at least, if not fully saying sorry?
I apologize if I sit and retrospect and think about everything that's happened, and I realize that yes, probably I overreacted a little bit and I should have probably not done that. I just say sorry. I don't find any ego in doing that. Like I just go and
Okay.
apologize and I make up.
Oh, wonderful. Uh, this, I want to narrate a funny incident here. I did something,
Okay.
I can't remember what the mistake was, but
Okay.
I told my daughter that, okay, so I'll punish myself the way I punish you, so 50 push ups or something like that.
Okay.
After 25, I couldn't do it. So I said, oh, my everything is paining and all, I'll do the rest later. So after
Yeah.
3 days, she says, now I think you're okay. It's time to finish that punishment. So I feel very good about it. I
Yeah.
can't say that I have been very liberal with this saying sorry or doing these things.
Hmm.
But being a parent has brought this strongly into focus that what you do is going to be aped.
Yes,
Uh,
that's true.
so might as well, yeah, pick up wherever you can and try and do what you can to make the kid realize that you are
Yeah.
serious about analyzing things.
Right.
Um, I want to ask you one little thing. In the space that created the anger in the first place,
Right.
uh, have you at times because of this introspection later realized that, oh, actually what was bothering me had no bearing on the subject itself? So, for example, you may say your husband decided to cook or something. I'm just
Okay.
creating a scenario,
Sure.
and he forgot something, some basic thing in it, and you created a big ruckus about it. But actually, what you were bothered about it was um, you were trying to
It-
paint something and you were unable to crack that idea, or it didn't come across the way
Yeah.
you wanted, or maybe you ran short of colors, or any nonsensical thing that has been eating into your mind.
Hmm.
And you had to deliver. You've been in advertising. We have
Yeah.
artificial deadlines on our heads at
Yes.
times, sometimes real deadlines as well. It's very difficult to deal with them while also dealing with something which is fairly easy at home.
Right.
So when you see the people at home not living up to that basic thing, you'll end up overreacting. So has that happened? Have you realized that primarily itself you've been wrong? Forget overreacting. Uh,
Uh, just yesterday we had an episode over cooking. So that's the reason why I was like having a smile on my face when you were,
yeah, I
going
haven't
through it.
developed to that area that I can read minds. I can assure you that much.
So yes, just yesterday we had this episode where I totally overreacted, and I know that I was the one who was wrong and completely wrong actually, because I, just like you said, I paint a picture in my mind that, oh, this has to turn out this way because it's a specific recipe with certain ingredients that go in, and since my husband missed a few, obviously the flavors were a little different, and that's when I was like. I was ballistic. I was like, what is this? But to be honest, um, well, I have been completely wrong. I mean, I think that it's okay. It should not always be the way I want. So, yeah.
Okay.